Okay.
Okay, you can start.
Okay, so, public notice of Municipal Services Committee. Oh, sorry. It's public notice of Municipal Services Committee for the City of Blue Island to be held remotely Thursday, April 23rd, 2020 at 6 p.m. as permitted by Executive Order 2020-07, signed by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on March 16th, 2020, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Call the meeting to order at 6:15. And I guess I can't see anybody, so we'll just do a roll call. I'm here. Bill Fahrenwald?
Here. And Randy, I get a message that we can't be seen on YouTube, although it says we're live on YouTube.
You know, that's Carol Green's been texting me too. We just started. Started.
Okay. Nancy, Rita?
Here.
Mech?
Here.
Okay. We've got Eric Alvarez, Randy Heuser, Betty Harmeyer, Jim Polstrow. No one emailed me any questions before the meeting, so we'll just move on to number 4 on the agenda, Public Works.
We also
Jim,
have, excuse me, Candace, we also
Yes.
have some citizens.
Yeah, Carol Green, I'm sorry, and Kimberly Byrne.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. I had written them down, but
It's
I didn't put them in the roll call.
Alan Stevo is also.
Oh, Alan Stevo? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so Public Works. Jim, you want to give your report, please?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Alderman. For the Municipal Services Committee, let's see, streets and alley repairs, we went through 6 tons of cold patch. Let's see, this is the time from March 6th to April 6th. And then street lighting, 22 street lights were repaired. 8 plus have been called into ComEd, which are the wooden poles. Bulk waste, we went through 54 20-yard dumpsters.
Wow.
I know, it's been heavy. It's been real heavy. And then snow and ice. Well, at that point, I think it was storm 27, but we just finished 29A. We had 29A will be at the end of the season, I'm pretty sure. And we had 1 frost call. So a frost call is early morning with the bridges and 1 truck doing all the elevated surfaces and some of the hot spots in the city, the cold areas. So then we did the testing for the water, the first and second Tuesday of the month. And we were reading water meters, but that got on, that was actually suspended. We only got 3 days in. So anyway, that's it.
Okay. So on the agenda is the mutual aid agreement.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about that a little bit. I know it's already been through finance.
It went through finance, I believe last week. What this is, I sat through a webinar, to deal with water and the COVID-19. And anyway, they were talking about this, and I thought, it's a good idea that we would sign up for this, and they encouraged for us to sign up for it. So I was just thinking it would be a nice little backup for the city of Blue Island, just in case something happens to our guys, not just in this period, but anything that would happen, we'd belong to this. And if one of the neighboring towns had a problem, they would reach out if we could help them. If we could, we would. So anyway, that's pretty much what that's about.
This would be similar to what the fire department has, the mutual aid agreement.
Correct. But I think the fire department would be using their aid a lot more when there's a fire and stuff, right? But I hope we never come to the point where we need to use this, but it'd be a nice little backup if we ever did have a jam, you know, because we have a water system to run in town. And this would be like strictly water operators.
Right.
The water system, you know, the licensed water operators.
Okay, and then, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah. Can you see me, Candace?
No, I can't see anyone right now.
Okay, I'll make sure I speak up. I apologize. Did the attorneys see this agreement?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yeah, that's, I sent it to Kerry Horvath, the attorney, and I know he reviewed it, and then he sent it on to, you know, not the municipal, but the finance and all that.
Okay.
Right, so he did review it, correct?
As I understand it, Jim, there is actually no cost to this?
Well, there's no cost at all, but if there's like, say, if something did happen and we did need services, it could, you know, the neighboring town that, say they sent a water operator here to maintain our system, they could send like a bill for their hourly, you know, the same vice versa if we had to go somewhere, you know what I'm saying? But there would be no cost in joining, absolutely not. It's a mutual agreement. We have a phone number actually to call if we get in a jam.
It's Alderman Nancy Rita. So it's kind of like quid pro quo. If we need help, they'll come and help us, and then we would pay them for their service. And if they needed us, they would pay us for our services, correct?
Right. If we were to charge or they were to charge. I mean, if it was something simple, I'm sure we'd sit there and say, you know, as a neighboring, friendly neighbor would say, oh, we're only there for 2 hours or whatever, you know, whatever. But in the same there, I'm sure, you know, it'd be a kind of a friendly thing. But sure enough, if you have to maintain somebody's system for a month, there would be some cost, and we'd all understand that.
Okay.
You know? But only being a jam, it would not be, it would be a tool that we would use only if we really were in a problem. You know,
May I ask a question?
an emergency.
Candy,
Sure.
can I ask a question?
Sure, Alderman Fahrenwald?
Thank you. Jim, I'm just curious, how many neighboring suburbs are a part of this already? Do you know?
I really don't know. I can find that out though. You know, I'd like to get it going where we can join, and I'll find that all out. You know, I'll find out who's the members and all that. But I think I could find out without even joining. I could find out the list of towns that belong to it.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, I joined in on a webinar because I thought it would be something really important to listen to. I have one more tomorrow to deal with the COVID-19. I have another one around 10 o'clock tomorrow that I want to sit in on, and I registered for it. And I just, you know, it's good information sometimes. A lot of seminars and webinars I really don't be able to take part of because we're pretty busy. But right now, I think this is some important stuff.
Good.
Okay, I need a motion then to approve this.
Alderman Nancy Rita, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, Mech.
Okay, let me put this down. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, and then, I'm sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around on my computer here, back and forth between documents. I think that's all that we have for Public Works. Under the Water Department,
Chair,
I put no,
Could I ask one
I'm
more?
sorry? Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Jim, of course, I'm sure others are already getting inquiries about patching alleys and so forth, and I'm telling them, of course, it's way too early to be talking about that. But under the circumstances of what we're facing this year, do you have any sense of, you know, are you going to be able to engage in a normal program or not, or do you know yet?
I don't believe anything's going to be normal for a long time, but we are gearing up. Just for instance, our mechanic for the tree trimming, we took last year we had a quote for $8,500 to take a new canopy for the chipper box. I know I'm not talking about asphalt for a second, but we took the old one off the old truck, retrofitted it to another truck that we're gonna make for the tree tripper. But what I'm doing is that everybody's in a separate vehicle. So same thing with asphalt. We're getting the truck ready for that. Today alone, we bought the sideboards for it. The mechanics put that together today. And I'm trying to get the sideboards painted tomorrow. So the truck will be ready for the asphalt. What I'm doing is putting everybody in separate vehicles. And so like the tree trimming, I got 3 guys. One guy's on a saw, one guy's doing the branches. You know, they don't have to be within 6 feet of each other. Nobody should be on top of each other. Same thing with the mowing crew. I got a mowing crew that started this week. And that was 3 guys. One guy's on the mower, one guy's on the weed whack, the weed whacker, and one guy's picking up the garbage. No one has to be on top of each other. They're all in separate vehicles, working as a crew. And I know it's a little bit more, but for right now, I think that's safe. So the asphalt, not going to be normal, but we are going to start up. We are going to get everybody together. I know we're expecting a couple of days of rain. I think we're going to get heavy rains on Saturday, but on Monday and Tuesday, we're expecting rain. I got some concrete work I want to get done. We have a couple places like on Gregory that a couple sidewalk panels are open. So we are going to get to the asphalt. It probably won't be as heavy as we have done in the past, but we're going to do the best we can. We're like I said, we're getting the truck ready, and the roller. We brought the roller over today, for out of storage. We have to pick up a battery for it, so we are gearing up 100%. 100%. We're going to be geared up, and we're going to try to do all the functions that we're supposed to.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is that more than you needed? Sorry.
Any other questions for Jim?
I do have a question real quick. Now this ill warn thing, that's gotta go to council still, right? Am I right?
Which thing?
That's gotta go to council. It went through finance and then it went through municipal services, but it's gotta go to council yet, right?
Right. That's why we put off this meeting, because we didn't have anything that had been put through to go to council. So a week and a half ago, we didn't really have any actionable items. So I just put the meeting off. But
yeah, yes,
hopefully it will be on the city council agenda for Tuesday.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
This is Alderman Nancy Rita, actually for, I don't know if this would be for Jim, but under Public Works. So the abandoned property vacant lot grant, we received an email. I know I had inquired, I had asked Mike, I'm sorry, oh my God, Mark Miller and Howard, and it sounded like it wasn't happening. And then once the ball got rolling, it sounds like Mark was able to get a hold of someone once I inquired.
Yeah, I got the.
And now they're going to extend it.
Excellent.
Through August, correct? Because we weren't going to have that.
Right. The email.
I don't know. The ball was dropped, I guess.
The email from Mark Miller says, please be advised that the abandoned property reimbursement program scheduled to retire in May has been extended. Right. Reimbursement funds for abandoned property maintenance will be available through August 2020.
That was initiated by me. I sent an email because, urging, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? And so I'm glad that, not to toot my own horn, but I'm glad I sent the email and got the ball rolling. And now luckily it's been extended. So that will help out Public Works, because we had to cut our budget and we don't have the manpower for Public Works to do that. So, so that's a good thing.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you.
Good job, Nancy.
Yeah. That's for board ups too. That's just not just, that's good. I know
Right,
they use the board up money and then also cutting property, for the grass and what.
right. Well, because we all go, once the grass is, 2, 3 feet high, and then we're all going to be going crazy. So I'm
Right.
really glad. I'm so thankful this was.
Well, we started cutting grass this week on our properties anyway, the city maintained. We started.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for Jim? Going once, going twice. Okay, under the water department, I had put on the agenda no report. Betty, if you want to explain to us what's going on.
Well, actually, with the pandemic, there's really not anything going on with any kind of delinquencies, any kind of red tags. I am letting people call me if they want to for a payment plan, which I've had a few people do that. I am holding back doing any of that until further notice from any of you, because right now is not the time, I don't think, to make any kind of ripples for this, because we are all trying to wash our hands as often as we can and keep things very sanitized. So right now, that is all on hold.
Okay.
And I don't, the water bills have gone out as normal, and we aren't open, of course. So people are using the drop box on the front. We get a lot of charge calls, which is more than we usually get. And therefore, I think that the citizens are very acceptable to what's happening. And nobody is like abusing the situation from what we can tell.
Oh, that's great to hear.
And I think I will present something to you, hopefully at the next meeting, to where something that I can mail out as time goes on to offer a flexible plan for anybody that has a stressful situation for lack of a job because of this, or lack of payment because of this. There will be the habitual people anyway, so we're not even going to worry about that. We're just going to worry about anybody else that is having a stressful situation because of this. And
So we don't want
any of your suggestions for anybody at any time. So please feel free to give me a call either on my cell or however you would like to do it, because I am open for any suggestions. Because again, this is, of course, we all know, a unique situation, and I think it has to be handled in a very unique handling situation.
Yeah, we don't want to put a burden on people right now. There's so many people unemployed, so I think this is a good idea. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Nope. Okay. The John D. Rita Recreation Center, there's no report because they've been closed. Bob Jackson did submit the invoice for the sports field. Let me see if I can pull this up. Sports fields infield maintenance from April through October for $2,800. I'm not sure what we want to do with this. I know that the city budget is going to be extremely tight. I'm open to suggestions, ideas, discussion.
May I make a thought about this?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So, it just seems like, especially at this time, I understand there are concerns about money, and maybe we just won't have the money at some point to do these kinds of things. But for the time being, I think it's important that we maintain the city to the best of our ability. You don't want this to become a weedy, overgrown place. It invites all kinds of problems and is demoralizing, I think, to the community. So I understand we may just run out of money at some point, and if we do, we'll have to deal with it. But I would feel like we probably want to, you know, maintain this facility in the interim.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money for the amount of time. That's about 6 months that they would be servicing the ball field.
Yeah, so I'd be in favor of does finance look at this?
I don't believe that they've seen this yet.
Well, maybe they should.
Well, we could approve it and send it to them.
Yeah. That'd be fine.
This is Alderman Nancy Rita. Could we table it until Bob Jackson joins the meeting?
Well, he's the one that sent it to me to get approval.
Yeah, I would suggest we send it on to finance and let them just think they could say, no, we just can't afford it, and we just can't afford it, but I think I would be in favor of approving it and, on to them.
That would be fine, because I actually am very worried about our finances as well. And like you, Alderman Fahrenwald, no, I don't want it to turn into a weedy, horrible place. And then it takes double to improve this, the rec center. But then on the other hand, we do need to decide which is,
Yeah, right. I think that's probably finance would be better to make that decision than we are, so.
Okay. So then I need a motion to approve.
I'll move.
And a
Second,
second.
second, Mike Mech.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Nancy?
aye.
Okay. All right. So that's all that we have for the rec center. The Meadows Golf Course, there's nothing to report, but I don't know if you caught the governor's press conference today. As of May 1st, he's allowing golf courses to open with certain restrictions. So I guess that's a good thing. Yeah. But that's all the news I have on that. We'll have to have Petty.
Next Friday.
Yeah, well, Petty will have to come up with a plan about how they're going to let golfers onto the course and how they're going to space them out and things like that. Hello?
Yep, we're here.
Oh, okay. I just heard a buzz, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that was either.
Okay. All right, so moving on to Robinson Engineering. Eric, it's your big moment.
Yes, gotcha, Alderman Carr. Thank you. So I don't have much to talk to you all today. I wanted to give you a brief update on some of the projects. So we have the Edison and Francisco project is underway. The concrete's done, and they should be starting grinding and reclamation and repaving next week. So
I have a question. I don't mean to interrupt you regarding the Edison.
Sure.
So is the Edison project, is that coming out of our general fund? Is that a grant or is that a TIF? Because this was approved a long time ago and I need to.
Nancy,
What?
this was the money that we took from appropriations in last year's appropriations. We cut expenses in different areas and we put it into the road fund. And then we voted on the streets that were going to be paved, and it was Edison and Francisco.
Okay, so this is money set aside from last year, so it's not coming out of our general fund, correct?
This is money from the general fund, but it was appropriated last year as funds for street resurfacing.
And we have the money to pay for this?
I think it still has to go through finance.
No, this is in construction, so this has been.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
This is
already been through finance. Okay.
Okay, so since we're here, I personally, I think that all future projects, they need to be reviewed first before we go ahead with them. Just because during the pandemic, we're not going to have the same revenue that we anticipated. And when we approved a lot of these projects, we didn't know this was going to happen. Do you know what I mean? I mean, some of this stuff was back when I was finance chair or municipal chair. So right, Eric?
Edison and Francisco that was probably about a year ago when we started this.
I mean, future projects. Some of these future projects have already been agreed upon back when we thought we had more revenue than where we're at now. We didn't know there was going to be a pandemic. We didn't know. So I personally think, correct?
Yes, that's definitely correct. We have long-term projects that have been on for years.
Okay, so I think that we need to have the going forward with the rest of our projects, that we should get a list of them, which you always provide a list for us. I know that, Eric. And we have a list, and we maybe have Jim Postral be an oversight. Have it, send it to him so that they can see, he can kind of decide on where we're going. He can look at it, because some projects may be more important than others that we may not know because we're just regular folks, you know what I'm saying? And so this way there would be a little bit of oversight. I think that we should do that going forward.
I'm happy to send Jim a list of projects and prioritize whichever ones he sees and you all see fit, for sure.
You know what I mean? Rather than just going as normal, because I'm afraid that what if we have an emergency that comes up and then we started one thing that we thought would be a good project to do a year ago, and now all of a sudden, do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, remember on 127th Street when the street was caving in? I mean, none of us anticipated that. And luckily we had enough funds to take care of that. Remember with the sinkhole?
Yep, I remember it very well.
You got an award. You guys got an award. Yeah. So I'm just nervous that what if something catastrophic like that happens? Maybe it won't. It'll be great, and we'll all just move forward as usual. But what if something happens? I just think that we should have oversight. And I think that it would be a good idea. Jim, I hope that you're okay with this, that if you can oversee the project. So say you have, I don't know what, I don't have the list in front of me, but let's just pretend you were going to redo, we'll say High Street. And that was next on the list. And you were going to go forward with bids, et cetera, et cetera. And then the next one would be, I don't know, the sewer system or something. So this way the list goes to Jim. You guys can discuss it. We can figure out, and then we can kind of go over where the money's going to come from, and we can start to prioritize these projects in case we can't go forward with these. Does that make sense to everybody?
That makes sense to me. I mean, I know the road projects and all that stuff, we'd probably have to review and all that. I mean, I don't know what else they got going. I mean, that's,
just so that we have some oversight.
Yeah. See where we're at. Yeah.
Sure. So we provide that list every month, so I can send it. I mean, Jim gets it too.
No, I'm just saying that Jim can oversee this stuff before it starts and goes forward. So it would go to Jim, and then you guys can discuss it, or if Jim has questions, or he can review it.
Yeah, if that works great for me. So if Jim's like our we usually work a lot with Mark Miller too. So I don't know if Jim and Mark want to work that out, or if it. Anyway, you all tell me.
I think that it's a good idea that Jim Post will do it. Not to cut Mark Miller out of it at all, but just because Jim is involved with this firsthand, just in regards to the projects and the importance of them.
Nancy?
What? Yes?
Eric does supply us with a list of projects broken down.
Right, I know that.
By what year they were approved, and the progress on the reports. I'm looking at last month, and it says right here, 2020 projects, Western Avenue. It says next step is to review bid prices.
Right. Instead of going forward with projects that we've already approved a year, 2 years, and 3 years ago, that we have some oversight first. Because we're not going to have the revenue that we anticipated when we approved these projects, Alderman Carr.
I understand.
So
So
can I make,
probably
do I need to make a motion?
Well, I'm just thinking we can look at them, but the revenue portion would be the responsibility of the finance committee also.
I know, but we could have some oversight before it goes to the finance committee. I just think it would be a good idea to discuss it before projects just start going ahead that we've already approved. I think we need to step back, put the reins on some spending here and start to look at what we've approved
Could I just add something?
before the project goes forward.
You mind if I add
Okay. Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Alderman Rita's suggesting. I mean, I do believe that
Thank you.
we are in a position where we're just gonna have to look at everything a lot. But since we don't have, we're not the finance committee. I would certainly look to them and hope that they could provide us with some overall guidance and maybe give us an alert or whatever. Because we're operating in a vacuum to look at projects without knowing, if we can afford them or not. So we'd have to look to them for basic overall guidance. And maybe if there's a, kind of a red flag warning they got to put up is, hey, revenues are way down and we just got to put the brakes on stuff or whatever, then we could act on that to say, well, look to Jim or whatever to prioritize. So I think I agree with what Alderman Rita is suggesting, but I do think we need to rely on finance committee for for that picture, because we don't know.
Right, but I'm just saying in regards to the importance, and you said you agree, right?
Yes, I did, and I do.
Awesome.
There you go.
Now, I don't know that we need a motion. We're not passing an ordinance or a resolution. I think if we just agree that, if Eric agrees that he would bring the projects before they begin to our committee
Sure.
and
And
a little.
just so you all know, we do bring the projects to the committee before they begin every step of the way, from planning to bidding to for sure. Well, it sounds like the real difference is myself and Jim sitting down and going over the projects and having a look at. And Jim, you can hear me now, good, Jim, right? Okay. Well, probably what makes the most sense to me is the critical stuff's not going to be the TIF or the stuff from the business district or the parking lot funds, et cetera. But it probably makes sense for us to look at the stuff that is coming out of the general fund and be happy to. Is that?
I disagree with you because again, we are in a different situation now. I mean, do we know if we should be spent okay, we may need to prioritize the projects differently out of a TIF or out of it. Well, probably maybe not a grant, but definitely like a TIF, because what if we need the money for something else? Because
Okay, then just all.
prioritize all these projects that we already approved because.
I don't, Alderman Rita,
Yes.
I don't think it's possible for money to be transferred out of a TIF for other purposes. The money is
Yes,
in
you
the
are
TIF.
you are absolutely correct. I'm just saying in regards to different projects, but.
I was just, Alderman Rita, I agree with you. I was just talking to Jim about what I think is probably the highest priority. But yeah, for sure, we would review it sounds like you all want us to review every project. I was just suggesting that probably the most critical ones are the general fund ones and the water ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I do want to make a motion that we set a new procedure in place that the superintendent, is that your title, Superintendent of Public Works, Jim Postal, for oversight for projects going forward. I'd like to put that in a motion. Would somebody like to second it?
I have a question. Alderman Rita? Alderman Rita?
Yep.
What if you got something in writing before we made a motion?
Yeah, maybe it would be a good idea to put something together that, I agree. I agree with what you're trying to do, but I think we probably need to give it a little, to perfect some language. It's good.
To have an actual procedure laid out.
And
The
if I
procedure,
may,
okay, the procedure is that Jim Postal review and prioritize projects going forward, starting now.
I agree again with what we're trying to do. Maybe it would be better if Jim and Eric came back to us at the next meeting with that process and how they think it should work out, and then we would approve it.
Okay, then
I mean,
I don't think that we
it
should
sounds
go
pretty-
forward. I'm
It sounds
sorry,
pretty
Bill.
simple what you're suggesting, but I'm not in the, I don't live in their world, and I'd kind of like to let them maybe give us a process that would work.
I just think we need to put the brakes on right now.
I'm not arguing with you on that.
We are going to be in serious, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I just have a feeling that we may be in serious trouble. And then pretty soon it's going to be, we're laying off our employees in order to pay for these projects. And I just don't feel good or right. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think now is the time, put the brakes on some of these projects and we can go forward slowly rather than the same timeline that we agreed upon 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years ago. I feel very passionately about this.
I do.
And it's, excuse me one more time, I'm sorry. And it's nothing against you, Eric. You always come through. You always provide information. Please don't take it personal, but I really do feel that we need oversight because we are in a different situation right now. And again, a lot of these projects that we voted on and approved, I think they need to be prioritized because you know what, if it's coming down to, okay, we need to fix a street or we need to fix a parking lot, what do we want? If we need to fix a sewer or there's a main, so I can't think of any good examples right now, but say there's a water main break or redo a parking lot. You know what I mean? We need to put the money where.
Well, Alderman Rita, I understand what you're saying.
Then why are you disagreeing?
Well, I'm not disagreeing. I agree with you. However, I know that finance is reviewing all of these projects because they're very aware of the fact that we're going to be running out of money. So they're looking very hard at this. And I also think that we need to have a written procedure, you know, that everyone can abide by.
I will get a written procedure and I will bring it to the next meeting.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And in the meantime, I don't think that we should go forward with any projects until our next municipal services meeting.
Okay, Alderman, let me chime in there. So, because it's not on the municipal services because it's already been through and next up for it is finance, but we've got the 2020 sewer maintenance is the next project coming up, which is a portion out of TIF and a portion out of the water sewer fund. So that would include that one. So we should delay the award of that. That'll be on finance on Monday and city council on Tuesday.
And I do know what the finance committee's role in this, but I think that we should work in conjunction with them. And I would think that they're thinking the same thing.
So,
Well, I have been speaking with Alderman Donahue. I mean, we have been in touch with each other.
I'm not stating you're not, but I think we need oversight. There is not a whole lot of oversight in the city right now, Candace.
As the engineer, though, I think the 2020 sewer maintenance is fairly important. I mean, that is how we find, safety hazards with the sewer system, and that's how we keep them running in the city sanitary. So as the city engineer, I would not recommend delaying that, but of course, I defer to you all.
I would agree with that. And I look forward to seeing what Alderman Rita would bring to us. That's a good idea. Bring us a proposal and we can vote on it at the next meeting, which actually is probably what, Candy, it's really only what we're kind of having this meeting late. So the next meeting wouldn't be all that far off.
No, it would be, let me look at my calendar real quick. Today's the 23rd. It would be the 12th of May.
Okay, so that's not that far off.
No.
And just to clarify, Alderman Rita, Are Jim and I supposed to go over the projects before the next meeting, or we're waiting for the before or after the next?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yes, Alderman Rita, I was just saying, are Jim and I supposed to go through the projects before the next meeting or after the next meeting?
I'll get together with you. I'll get together with you, Eric.
Thanks.
Okay, great.
I didn't know that I'd have to put this in a formal motion. I thought this was going to be just a discussion, and I honestly thought it wasn't going to be a big deal, and I didn't think I was going to have any opposition to this because it just doesn't make sense to go forward with projects that we approved in the past, and we are in a completely different place with this pandemic. We do not have the revenue coming in as Ms. Betty Harmeyer just explained. You know, people are paying their water bills, but there's a lot of people out of work. We just don't have the revenue that we thought we had. We are in a completely different spot. And hopefully it all works out and everything can go forward and everything will be great. But I personally think we need to put the brakes on stuff. And I feel very passionately about this again. And I want to work in conjunction with the Finance Committee. I'm not trying to take away their role or their power or whatever, however you want to word it. I just think because these projects come out of the Municipal Services Committee, and I think that we should start to prioritize and work in conjunction with the Finance Committee. But I do believe that there needs to be some oversight with this, and I think Jim Postrow would be a good person to have some oversight with the projects going forward.
This is Alderman Mech. I think we all agree it's a great idea. I think we just want to put the right steps to make it transition correctly. And I think with the sewer project in place right now, we need to do that. But I think it's a great idea, Alderman Rita. I think you brought up a great thing, and Jim is the right person to oversee these projects. But again, I think we just need a couple steps confirmed and in writing to move this forward.
Okay.
Okay. We actually jumped ahead on the agenda because this discussion was supposed to be later. So let's back up to item number B under Robinson Engineering. And this is the partial payout for New Street, which is, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a completed project.
New Street is partially complete. We have some minor finishing work to do, which is to do with the slope wall and minor finishing work to do with the slope wall, basically. Other than that, the project's 95% complete. But this is a partial payout, which does not include the retention. And yeah, I think it's mostly just the retention left to go.
Okay, and the retention, it looks like was $14,952.
Don't have it right in front of me. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, that's there.
That's the cover up. There was like an ice or the wall, the old existing part of that wall was, you know,
Right.
I don't know how you call it. It wasn't collapsing. It was like chipping away or something.
Yeah.
Right, it was breaking apart pretty badly, the old slope wall. Mm-hmm.
Makes the project
Okay, so
look bad.
can we get a
Did you say this money was coming out of, I'm sorry, what did you say this money was coming out of again?
This project is TIF 5, Alderman Rita.
Okay, that's what I thought. And has Finance Committee taken a look at this, Candace?
I sent the paperwork to Alderman Donahue.
Okay.
So I don't know if they looked at it last Monday or if they're looking at it. I believe he would have, hold on, I can check my email. I sent him the invoices Monday at 6 o'clock. I don't remember when the Finance Committee meeting was, but they would have the ultimate
Monday night.
approval.
They have them every Monday night now.
Okay,
I believe that's on for Monday night. New Street reconstruction, partial payout should be on for Monday night. That's my understanding.
this coming Monday.
Yes, Alderman.
Okay. So we need, from our committee, then we need approval to pay the invoices. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Alderman Fahrenwald.
Second, Alderman Mech.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay. 3 ayes, 1 no. I'd say motion carries. All right. And then, okay, I have on the agenda a discussion of the progress in the water gardens in the 5th Ward. Mark Miller contacted me. He has a group of students who are willing to do the gardening work for the water gardens in the 5th Ward. And please don't stop me. Don't interrupt me till I'm done. In the 5th Ward for free. So I talked to Eric and I asked him if we had heard back from the MWRD, and he said that we had not heard back from them as of yet, and that he didn't expect that we would hear back from them possibly for several months. So the question then becomes, what happens to those water gardens for the next several months? Do we let them grow wild till we get permission from the MWRD to mow them down, or do we let this group of students manage the water gardens?
Well, it's Alderman Mech. I'm concerned for liability and also the work that they're doing. You know, I'm just being in my ward, and we know that's a hot topic.
I know.
I think it's great that, you know, the students want to volunteer and do something. I think it's awesome in today's world, but I'm really concerned about liability with the students and who's going to supervise the students and the equipment needed. Even if we have to, I hate to say this, get somebody in professionally to take care of it until we get notification. I think that could be the best bet.
Okay.
We
I have
do
a
have,
question. And included in our agenda, there was from Green Plum Garden Design, who was supposed to, I thought that's what we were voting on. It says a proposal for a landscape. Am I mixed up? I thought
no,
that-
you are not. You are not mixed up. The Mark Miller told me about the students afterwards. If we want to go with a professional to take care of the gardens, we could go with Green Plum. It's a total of $2,150. If we approved it, she would start immediately taking care of the gardens until such time as we get approval from the MWRD, which, you know, we may or may not get.
So
Well, last
how
year,
come they're from Indiana?
That's what they says, yeah.
Yes, they are from Indiana. This was the company that actually the owner of this company, Julia Plum, she was the woman who initially worked on the project.
Oh, okay.
And there is no one else in town because we went through this last year looking for someone else who knew how to manage a water garden. And there's nobody else with that type of experience.
well,
In Blue Island.
Alderman Carr, we know last year because they got a very late start in the season, and we had some major issues in maintenance, and you know, I mean, it was in really bad condition last year.
Yeah, I'm in favor of going ahead with the Green Plum. proposal.
Yes, thank you.
Question real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Eric. I know that you sent a letter out to MWRD looking to see if we can sod these areas. Hi, Eric.
Sorry, yep.
What do you think the timeline on something like that? Are we looking at another year or something like that for an answer from them?
Well-
They might even say no because there was such a big investment put into this, you know, from them. But I was just wondering if there was any kind of timeline on because they're residing it, because I know some of the residents over there are screaming the way they look, as we all.
Right.
Right. And Julia, I think, has been maintaining it in the past a little bit. I don't know how much she got there last year or not, but I know that ultimately the residents came in and Alderman Mike Mech, he was referring to just like putting it back to sod, letting the water go into the grass and then into the stone that's underneath, because we know they're rain gardens. What's the timeline on that, you think?
So Jim, we sent this in, feels like ages ago, but it was only early March. I think we probably still have a number of months to go till we hear back from the MWRD, even if this were normal times, which it definitely isn't. And I think also based on my conversations with them, I don't think that this is a sure thing, them approving this sod, not by any means. So in my opinion, it definitely makes sense for us to maintain these per our agreements we have with them for now. And that includes the sort of landscaping we're talking about now.
Well, it does seem like a lot longer. We were talking about that letter than just a month ago.
Right, I know, it's been a long month and a half.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Okay, so then we need a motion to approve this.
I move.
Second, Mech.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I will send this on to finance, then they can get it on their agenda for Monday, because I think last year one of the things that happened was somehow this got lost in translation and it bounced around from committee to committee and wasn't approved until almost July. And by that time,
Too late.
it was a little bit too late. It was just a jungle out there. All right. I
want to put on the record, though, again, I'm going to reiterate that we really need to start taking a look at how much money we're spending it, but we are sending it to finance so they can take a look at it as well, even though it's only a couple $1,000s. And I know this means a lot to Alderman Mech.
So noted.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other alderman concerns?
We didn't talk about the bids.
I thought that's what we were, I thought that was that whole big discussion that we had.
No,
about
that was
Eric.
regarding project oversight. Eric didn't finish his, we got sidetracked. That was regarding project oversight. And I don't think Eric finished his report, and then we did not discuss the bids, no. That was project oversight. Because he was talking about Edison, and I asked where the money was coming from, and he said TIF 5, right?
Edison
Or
and
not TIF
Francisco.
5, the general.
Right.
Okay, so Eric, did you finish your report?
I just wanted to go over a quick overview of it. I could just quickly run through some of the other stuff. So Western Avenue Bridge is obviously starting up, and that's going to go on now for about 2 years. We've got the New Street reconstruction. We'll finish up in the next couple of months. Let me see. I'm just running down the list here. Sorry, I got a little thrown off too. We've got our meter vault project, which is at 119th Street in Western and 119th Street in Vincennes. That is underway, like beginning work, but we'll probably start on the ground in the next week or two.
So since it didn't start yet, that would probably be another thing that we would need to prioritize.
So that would be really tricky. So with that project is started, as in they've been manufacturing equipment for that project for the past 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Stopping it right now would probably incur very large costs.
Okay.
Okay. And Alderman Rita, I guess that's the sort of discussion, exactly the sort of discussion that you're hoping Jim and I will be having, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Old Western Avenue resurfacing should be starting up any day now, and that's it. That's my report.
Okay, and then there was the discussion on, let me go back to the agenda here. Discussion for bid procedures for future projects. Now, part of this was running it past Jim so that Jim Post was aware of the projects that are going to be going on. Another concern was how you I don't know how exactly to phrase this, but what limitations you place on contractors when you put something out for a bid? Because our concern is that the most people will get to bid on a project, including smaller companies.
Sure. Alderman Carr, can I,
I
is
actually
that
have
something
a
you'd like me?
question too, that maybe you'd be able to answer it all in one, okay? This is Alderman Rita. So recently it was brought to my attention that the smaller companies, they're not allowed to be in the bidding process for the City of Blue Island projects. And I feel that the smaller businesses should have an opportunity, especially during this pandemic, to be able to try to do their work. So I don't, if you want to go ahead and.
Okay, Alderman Rita, Alderman Carr, so this is Eric Alvarez, and to answer the question about how the bid, okay, so the way we bid projects is we do a cost estimate of the project, and we typically require that contractors be pre-qualified with us and with the city to bid on a project. It the pre-qualification definitely has nothing to do with the size of the business. It only has to do with the size of the project. So if the project is of a certain scope, say for example, this year's sewer maintenance and cleaning, which is I think where this came up, it's roughly a $200,000 project. In the way that we recommend the city look at pre-qualifying contractors is through projects of a similar scope, successful projects of a similar scope. It has nothing to do with the size of the business. It has nothing, that's it. It's, have you completed projects of a similar scope before? And in my opinion, it's a good way to do it because it ensures, you know, as a municipality, and Jim can speak on this too, we do projects from the size of a small water main break all the way up to a mile of, you know, new water main. And that project in scope can vary from, you know, $5,000 to $500,000. And this is the way that we, as your engineers, recommend we ensure that we get a contractor that's qualified to do the scope of the work we're talking about. But pre-qualification is something that we write into our specifications for each project, and it's subject to approval by the city. So if there was forever any reason that the city wanted to not use that specification, it's not up to the engineer, it's up to the city.
Okay, and
Did
that's,
that answer any of the-
exactly. And that's another, that was the second portion of, with Jim, if he could help prioritize and then also take a look at some of the bids, because I just personally think that this, that there are, like you said, there are different sizes projects that the city does. And I think that minority and small businesses should be able to have a shot at it because that's how they build up. You know, they start with the smaller projects. And if we can open it up a little more to these different companies, then that's like that's how they can build up their businesses as well. It's not fair that they don't even have a shot to begin with.
But again, Alderman Rita, let me just please assure you that there is absolutely nothing to do with our pre-qualification process that has to do with minorities, that has to do with the size of the business. It's all about the projects that you've done. It doesn't matter who owns the business. It doesn't matter how big the business is. It's the scope of the projects you've done.
I don't know, I just think that local companies should be able to be part of the process.
Eric, I think when you talked to me, you said that there are some communities that have a like a percentage preference for local businesses?
Sure. Alderman Carr, that's right. When we Alderman Rita, we spoke about this briefly. I think it was last week. So I've worked personally on projects with other communities in the south suburbs that have a local contractor preference written into the contract. And the way that works in two of the other communities that I know of in the south suburbs of Chicago is that they will allow a contractor that is local, so say from Blue Island, to be a certain percentage over a contractor that's from out of town. Say it's 10% over, and then the city at their discretion can award that to the contractor. Now, obviously that would result in a higher price, but the feeling is that, the local prioritizing a local contractor outweighs that higher price. And I have examples of that, from real projects that I can provide to the committee if wanted.
Alderman Rita?
Oh. Okay, so maybe do we want, Alderman Carr, you had mentioned that maybe to have Superintendent Jim Postal to overlook some of the bids beforehand, right? Isn't that what you said when you first began? Maybe I can put this as part of the other A and a B. Prioritize projects and then maybe.
No, Alderman Reed, we have to be very
Depending on the
careful. Jim can't review bids.
Sealed bids. They're sealed bids.
Yeah, that's right. There's a very deliberate, we can't open sealed bids for review or something like that.
No.
This is pretty
Going
tricky
forward.
stuff that we can't just there's some of this stuff that we can't just change around, but.
No, going forward, I know that you can't go back and change.
No. I mean going forward too. So, as a public project in, I think the United States, we have to abide by a sealed bid procedure. They go to the clerk's office. The clerk makes sure that they're properly sealed, that nobody opens them, that nobody tampers with them, and they all get publicly opened while the contractors are invited to. I would never recommend to you all to open a bid and have anybody at the city prioritize anything ever.
Maybe I'm not understanding this properly. Okay, so say you write the bid and you saying it's like a $200,000 project. So then the company who bids on it has to have had worked on a project that cost $200,000 or more, correct? Is that right? Am I understanding it right?
Right, so we're talking about pre-qualification though now. We're not talking about selecting bidders
So-
or something like that.
Okay, so I
Maybe this is something
misworded it.
better for the
I
city
misworded
attorney.
it. I mean pre-qualification. I used the wrong term, right?
Okay. Yes, Alderman.
So that could be part of the document that I provide for the next. How does that sound? Does that sound okay with everybody?
Alderman Rita, Alderman Rita, I believe that needs to be an ordinance.
Can I please make a recommendation here? So,
Okay, then we
if we're
can do that
talking
in
about,
judiciary.
can I please make a recommendation that if we're talking about changing the contract language of, a typical public project, rather than me and Jim, the superintendent of public works, reviewing and prioritizing projects that we haven't, but anything to do with modifying the actual language of the contract. Alderman, can I recommend that it goes to the city attorney, please? Because some of this stuff we really can't change.
I'm talking about the pre-qualification so that smaller businesses can be part of some projects too. I'm not saying everything. I'm not. Of course, we want to have qualified people doing our work, but I was just saying on maybe some of the projects, which is on a smaller level, to be open to some local businesses, minority businesses, small businesses. Am I wording that correctly, Jim? I don't know.
I understand what you're saying there. Yeah. It would be the pre-qualification then. Yeah.
Right, and the pre-qualification, my understanding is that it's up to, it's the city's preference. So that's malleable. But let me just reiterate, any of this stuff we're talking about, changing around some of these procedures that have been around for, many, many years, I think it's a very wise idea to run by the city attorney as well.
Of course. But I'm just saying, when it was brought to my attention and it's like, okay, so I voted on this, so wait a minute. And I'm putting all my trust into whatever, what the professionals are telling me, but then if it's not fair for some pre-qualifications for certain companies, I want to know the difference. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if a smaller company could have bid on a certain project for a pre-qualification. Am I not? Because it gets turned around and it's like,
So
well,
what we
you
can
voted on
do,
it.
Alderman, is we provide the city with, before we do any project at all, we provide the bid documents for review, and the bid documents include the pre-qualification. Special, every contract we do, the city gets a set of QA documents for review. That includes our pre-qualification special provision. So
Maybe does the city clerk and the mayor and the treasurer get it? I don't ever recall seeing a complete bid, but maybe I'm not, or a pre-qualification would be the right term. Maybe I just am not remembering. I feel like it's, once it gets to us at council meeting, there's 3 bids and whoever the lowest is, then we vote for that at council meeting, correct?
right. So
So that's what I'm saying. That's all. I would hate to cut out a local business or a small business on a smaller job. And then I'm seeing it after the fact.
I could answer your question about like the procedure for, so we do the quality assurance stage of like draft special provisions. Those usually aren't provided to like the full city council. It's ever since I've been working here, it's been on a review committee it's changed around based on the personnel at the city, but typically they include, like right now, for instance, it includes the treasurer, the public works director, the clerk, Mark Miller, who's the supervisor of special projects, and depending on the project, it could include Howard Kapari or Ahmed Sandino, if it's something to do with the building department.
So, and then all of you review the pre-qualifications?
Right, so that'll be the complete contract book. So those can be like, a couple of 100 pages. So if we want to like pull out the pre-qualification on that, which are very hard to read, for people who don't deal with construction documents every day. So if we want to pull out pre-qualification as something for like, particular review, that's basic language, and it's something we can for sure do going forward.
Jim, does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds like you said, the books are pretty lengthy, and maybe what you're looking for is to have some highlights of what the pre-qualifications are. But every project would be, you said we have big projects, we have little projects, but I think what you're looking for is some of the companies that are local to be able to bid on some of these projects, is what you're saying, instead of just having some people that are already big in the business, probably,
Right.
So you're trying to help out. It sounds like you're trying to help out the smaller companies to be able to become bigger companies, and this is giving them a leg up. But I understand what Eric's saying too. Is you're looking for a company that's been through it already, I guess.
Right, and
But Nancy,
Just
Alderman Rita's looking for. It looks like she's looking for to help the smaller companies with the smaller projects that they can become bigger.
To a certain extent, us as the engineers don't even get involved in projects of a certain size. Like Jim will tell you, how many times do you call out the plumbers to fix odds and ends without ever contacting us? So a lot of the projects we do, typically they're paving projects. This isn't really, our our pre-qualification special provisions are specifically designed for projects like big paving projects where it is definitely unsuitable to have a contractor who doesn't have the suitable equipment, which is very expensive and specialized to basically to, for example, not having a parking lot contractor bidding on resurfacing, a quarter mile of Chatham Street or something like that. Does that make sense?
So do you follow like IDOT language? Because of course, the state of Illinois, their projects are huge compared to, what you just say, like a quarter mile pavement.
Right. IDOT has a very similar set of pre-qualification guidelines, and as a general guideline, our special provision and contract documents do follow the DOT.
So say, for instance, for a quarter mile, like you just said, I mean, the pre-qualification should probably be a lot different than somebody who's redoing I-57.
Exactly. That's it, Alderman. You got it. And that's what we're trying to do.
We are both on the same page. I may not have been using the same language. I apologize because I'm not in the business, as you said.
Oh no, me too. It's just there's parts of the bidding and there's parts of bidding on public projects that we can change, and there's parts that we can't. And it's really not my place all the time to say that. I mean, I've been working in construction now for probably 15 years. So I mean, I can give you, but some of this stuff is definitely stuff for the city attorney too. So I just wanted to make sure, let you all know that. The
city attorney, and then also with Jim, because he knows some of these projects. So I guess that's where I was coming in with the oversight.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So what are we doing now? Is this going to be part of the document I bring in, just in regards to some of the oversight with the pre-qualifications? Is that the correct term? Right? Or no? Do we want Jim to take a look at it?
Sure.
Sorry, I'm muted. Yes, I could. Sorry, I can't.
No worries.
I can't. I'll make sure I get Jim some sample pre-qualification, and if that's something he thinks, we can review that too for sure, of course.
I think it's something we need to highlight maybe and share with everybody so they know what they're voting on. I think that's what you're looking for.
Yes.
So we need to bring it in.
Yes, because when I get it, like for city council, when we get all these big, thick documents, see, back in the day, we would get like a paragraph. You might even remember this, Eric, but we would get like a paragraph and giving us, the main details. And so we understand, because we're not completely schooled in all, I'm not schooled in how to, in your work, you know what I mean? So when we have some of the highlights and the basic information.
Overview.
There we go. Thanks, Alderman Mech. It makes things easier rather than going through pages and pages and pages, or even sometimes when we get some of these ordinances, like from Mr. Horvath, and it's a lot of legal jargon, and it's like, okay, so now I need to sit here and read through 32 pages, and it's it can be overwhelming. So I guess some highlights, important highlights, would be good.
Okay, so Alderman, can I make sure I'm understanding this correctly? So
yes.
Okay. What we're looking for basically is by the time of the next meeting, Jim and I I'm gonna give Jim a list of the projects that we've got going on in whatever various stages they are. We're going to look at prioritizing them, and then I think on top of that, it's also like we're looking for like a little bit of a description of each project. So like at the end of this, at the next municipal services meeting, me and Jim have a prioritized list with a little bit of a description, and that would include, well, I mean, I could like, it'll include the cost estimate, and I'll provide a sample pre-qualification special provision, which is basically just, well, like in my understanding of it is if the project's about $1 million, we want to make sure the project's done X number of, the contractor's done X number. Anyway, we'll provide a breakdown.
So now this brings us back to, since now we're all on the same page and you understand where I was coming from, I don't think I need to do a motion or a document, because it sounds like you guys can just work it out together, right?
I think, Jim and I work together pretty closely on like everything. So yeah.
Okay, I mean, unless it comes to that and we have to do a written out document, I didn't mean it for it to turn into that, you know what I mean?
Right.
I just meant, let's try to have a little oversight and some procedures in place, which will help,
And-
with some highlights, which you always do highlights. I don't want to take away from what you do, Eric, you always do.
Thank you, Holly.
So I didn't mean to, but I'm just saying because we're in a different place now.
Right. It's like now, not 6 months from now. I mean, it's 6 months from now, we're gonna see where we're at. But like right
Yeah,
now,
hopefully.
we're looking at where we at.
Yeah.
I understand all this, so I think I've got it. I just wanted to make sure
Right.
that I was we've been talking for a while.
Mhm.
I really
make one little
appreciate this
comment, too?
discussion, everybody. I really do. And Alderman, all of you, I appreciate the.
Can I add a comment? I've been listening intently to your conversations. Can, on these projects, can Eric have the funding source? And so that we, because I hear what you're saying, Nancy, about the prioritizing them, but I'm understanding, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's funding source. If it comes from TIF, we can't do anything with it. Water fund we can use for other expenses. So that might be something that we want to monitor closely.
And put the brakes on.
And
Maybe put
if-
the
Hello?
brakes on certain projects. I don't know.
Hello?
Sorry.
Hello? When Eric sends out his report every month, he does list the funding source next to every project. I'm looking at last month's.
Right, Candace, I know that, but the other thing is we need to figure out rather than, because his report, he's already going forward. We already approved it. So we're just going to take a look at it before he goes forward one more time. To see if it's
Okay.
still needed at this point.
And that's what I was talking about, Candace, was the
Right.
prioritizing thing. I'm tying it together for everyone because I've been listening to it and I understand what everyone is saying, so.
Okay,
Randy, I understand for sure. I thought that would be something definitely that would make or for Jim and I to review. That's going to be something critical. I would imagine. Jim, do you agree?
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement?
yes.
Sounds good.
Alderman Mech?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
And Randy.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Alderman, for sure.
All right, then all we need is a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion. Alderman Rita.
Alderman Mech, I will second.
All right, have a good night, everyone. Thank
All
you.
right, good night,
meeting.
thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, now how do I do this?